God had this all written out before. He aligned every single thing that I am doing now before I'm even doing it. It started with a vision, and that vision was planted in the church during that play, which is crazy to say. I saw all of this at 8. I just was scared of that path. I was scared of this path. I was like,
Why did you not believe that you could do it?
Nobody from my city, unless you were a rapper or a football player, nobody made it out. Shit, I was debating moving back home, before I got on P Valley. I was about to go back home to Mobile, Alabama. Portraying this character throughout this season, I've grown as a person. I've grown as an artist because of the character and because of Katori and the words that she's providing, and also the storytelling in the world and the texture of this world, and not to mention the actors that I'm playing with. They're tremendous. I did not expect what people are going to see in season 3. Like, I did not expect any of it.
If you were looking at me and I was you, what would you want to tell that person, that version of Nick, when he first came to New York?
Wow. I would tell that version.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. Thank you guys for showing love on every single episode. If you are here, please like, comment, and subscribe. Go follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Spotify, or here on YouTube. And we have another guest today, and this one is a full 360. I have Nicholas Sims, Nick Sims. This one is it's been, I don't know how long it's been since the last time you saw each other, but
I mean, it's been a whole year, right? It's been
maybe more than that.
Maybe more than that, like a year and some change. Like,
yeah,
but nah, like literally, like walking in here today, and then just I didn't expect this space to be our podcast space today, and I was like, whoa. I was literally on the floor last time, you were interviewing Lee, and I was like, dang, like, whoa, this is crazy. We're in two different spaces now, and I was just like, God's good. Like, you know what I'm saying? God's good, man. So yeah, man, I'm happy that you called me in, man. For real.
I appreciate you being here. I also did that knowingly because I wanted to kind of see how far we came. Obviously I've been recording in some other studios, but I think at least with the people that have interacted with me while I was in this space, or some of the part 2s that I've called, and in terms of having people on that's already been on, I think there's a good reflection here, how far we've came.
Yeah, man.
And for us, at least it's been a whirlwind.
Right, man. I've been watching your podcast, man, and just seeing everything grow and come to fruition. And I know early on, when you first started this thing, like you were trying to figure out like the navigation of it. And now you have a very clear, concise point of view of where you want to go with this thing. So I'm proud of you in that sense, man. Like, for real, I gotta give you your flowers.
Thank you, bro. I received that, bro. Thank you. And to you as well. I remember, you were sitting on the floor, you were managing the social media at the time, and you wanted to get into acting now. Yeah. And now you got some pretty big roles, man.
Yeah, man. It's been a blessing. I've been doing this for a minute. I don't know if I shared with you the first time. Around that time I think I was just transitioning from moving from Mobile, Alabama, and I moved into this neighborhood called East New York next to Brownsville. And I'm thinking I'm living a life because, I saw Everybody Hates Chris. So I'm like, I see all of the quote unquote brownstones together. I'm like, shoot, I made it. I'm here in New York. Little do I know, I'm next to one of the craziest neighborhoods ever in New York. I didn't know nothing about Brownsville. So, but no, everybody, in that community received me well, and when I first got here, I was nurtured with so much love and so many people who cared for me and looked out for me. So I was honored in that sense, and for you to be one of the people that I crossed paths with early on before anything means a lot. So because you saw the matriculation process of like what happened before anything ever took off. So like, man, again, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. Mobile, Alabama to to New York,
Do you
and now this.
Yeah, do you still keep in contact with them? The people from back home, at least.
100%.
Yeah.
Listen, if I go a day without calling my mom, she gonna track me down. She gonna run me down and try to find me. And I keep in contact with my dad, obviously, and then my best friend Blake. I always, reach out to him. But other than that, I keep a pretty close knit circle, man. I don't talk to too many people, but when I do, I make sure it's intentional, and I make sure that the people that I do talk to back home, I let them know that a lot of them don't have like a navigation or a way out, and I let them know, like, listen, like, this is what I did, these are the steps I took, and then this is how I got here, and I want to show them full proof of like how I got here and the things that I'm doing. So hopefully, the people that I do talk to that haven't necessarily listened to me yet, or haven't really, took into what I'm saying, hopefully along the way, some of like my recent, successes that can inspire them to continue on and try to find a way out. But Mobile is not the worst place in the world. Like, I'm not saying that, like, but some areas, especially areas that I grew up in, they're not the best. But Mobile is a nice place, y'all. I promise it's a nice place. But yeah.
So, acting. I usually like to know why people do the things that they do.
Mhm.
And I guess for you, why was acting so appealing to you? Like, what drew you in? Was there a certain a moment, a certain point?
Mhm.
Why do you like to act?
I was called to do it. I knew I wanted to act, and it's gonna be funny. I knew I wanted to act the moment when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old, in a church, and I was in a Christmas play. I forgot who I was playing. I don't know if I was playing, Jesus or something like that, maybe. But in that particular play, I knew that I wanted to be an actor. Like, from that moment on, like, I was like, all right, I know I love this. Like, I don't know what this sensation is, like, pulsating through my body. Like, when I'm on stage and people are, transcending from what I'm doing as a child, it felt different, and I was like, this is something I really want to do, but I don't know how. So I never really poked into it. I was always a football player. My dad, showed me the ropes early on how to train, how to be disciplined, and how to pretty much be the best running back that I can be. I studied a lot. I studied the game a lot, but in the back of my mind, unconsciously, I always knew that, man, what would it be like if I was, Spider-Man, Captain America? Like, I always watch movies with that curiosity. And I remember even in like 2015, 2014, when I was just beginning to like start and running back, I wrote down on my notes like steps on how to become an actor, because I started looking it up. Like, my curiosity grew bigger and bigger, and I eventually ended up taking drama, not until my senior year of high school. And again, kept getting bigger. The bug kept growing and growing, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I got in my own mind. I'm like, I am from Mobile, Alabama. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I could not do this. Like, I need to be real with myself, and which is sad for me to say. Like, I'm saying this out loud for the first time, but which is sad, because like, you should you should believe you can do anything and everything that you're capable of doing, no matter what the environment or the circumstances is. But that kid that I was, he was like, nah, you're not going to be able to do this. You need to follow the path, follow whatever everybody else is telling you to do, and you need to go play football. So that's what I did. I went to University of Toledo, played running back there, got tore my hamstrings first day of camp. And eventually I stayed there for 2 years. Went to Indiana State. I ended up having really good first half of the season when I got there. I got hurt again, tore my labrum. And sometimes you think certain things are happening to you because like the enemy is working against you. But in my case, I felt like the enemy, not the enemy. I felt like God wanted to slow me down to show me something. With that being said, when I tore my labrum and I could not physically run, walk, do any of that, I had to sit still for almost 2 weeks in my apartment alone in Terre Haute, Indiana, just alone. And I remember that process. I couldn't go to class or anything. I had to do everything from the comforts of my home at that point. And I remember that was the most transformative moment of my life. I was just watching all the movies I wanted because I was finishing my work and I didn't have to worry about football. I'm like, damn, why do I feel so happy being away from the field, being away from practice, being away from, the film room, being away from playing games? Like, why am I so happy? Like, this is something that I really fucking love. Like, what's going on? Come to find out, man, I had binge watched all of the Marvel films from top to bottom. I was watching Stranger Things heavy during that time. And then I was just watching all of these actors, transforming themselves into characters that were cultivating and that cultivated me at the same time. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, that same feeling that I felt when I was back in church, when I took drama class in high school, is still there. When I'm watching these films, I'm like, should I do it? Should I just quit football right now and just go with it? Nah. I said nah. And literally I have it in my notes in my phone. I woke up that same day at 3 a.m. and literally I never leave my TV on, but my TV was left on. I think YouTube was just running through my TV and a Denzel speech pops up and he's talking about like purpose and, he's talking about why you're put here on earth. I think it was like on one of his graduation speeches. I'm watching it and in my notes, I'm like, I don't know what my calling is, but I want to be here for a bigger purpose. Next morning I woke up, I said, are you dumb? This is it. Like, this is it. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out right now, because I was somebody who called myself a perfectionist, which I did away with that a long time ago, because there is nobody on this earth that is perfect. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody that I idolize that is perfect except God. With that being said, I got on my knees. I prayed over it. And I said, these are the steps I'm going to take. And immediately when I got healthy enough to walk again, I changed my major to theater. People thought I was crazy. My counselor was like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I want to change it to theater. She's like, there's a lot of classes you got to catch up. I don't care. I was being obedient. I had got a call and I was like, this is what I need to be doing. So with that being said, I didn't look back at all whatsoever. I knew I was going to quit football, but I was like, you know what? I'm still going to finish this season out. And when I get to the end, I'm going to tell my coach I'm quitting. I'm quitting ball. That conversation right there changed my life. I spoke to my running back coach, my head coach, and I at Indiana State, and they respected it because of how much I loved the craft, because mind you, during that season I was recreating like, you know, scenes from Split, scenes from Bel Air. I was just doing my own thing on the side, and they saw that, and they saw that I took in not only a liking to it, but they said, you know, they noticed that I fell in love with it. So I just quit. I left Indiana. I went back home for a while, took online classes at Morehouse Theater, continued, you know, and then one day, I connected with so many actors during that point because I was putting out reels at that point. I don't even know if they were called reels at that. I think it was like IGTV or something like that. So I was putting out scenes, connecting with actors. I connected with this actor, these two actors named Daniel Lobby and Crystal Angeli, and they introduced me to my manager, who I connected with, you know, Jana Kogan, and I was blessed that she even took a chance on me from that point. From her taking a chance on me, because you know, originally when you have a representation, they need reels and all that. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have a professional reel. I didn't have any TV credits. I didn't have any movie credits or anything like that. They needed something, but I had the scenes that I worked on, so she could see that. She's like, "Oh, I think you have something." She signed me. She introduced me to an agent up here in New York, you know, Bonnie, at Stewart Talent, and they gave me my first audition, which was a Broadway show called Passover. I was young, just came out of college. I was like, okay, it's a Broadway play. All right, I guess I'll shoot my shot. Man, I was in Alabama. I think I did 5 rounds, four or 5 rounds, and I had made it really far. And they ended up flying me from Mobile, which I got to see New York, and my bug intensified then. Once I got here to New York and I saw who I was in the room with, I was probably the youngest person in that room by like 10, 15 years. And I'm like, why am I here? Like, doing this? Because those people in that room, they saw something in me before I even saw it. They saw this person sitting in this chair before I saw it. My manager, my agent, that director of that play, that casting director, they saw it before I even did. God had this all written out before it. He aligned every single thing that I am doing now before I'm even doing it. So people ask me like, where did this inspiration come from? Literally, it started with a vision, and that vision was planted in the church during that play. I saw, which is crazy to say, I saw all of this at 8. I just was scared of that path. I was scared of this path. I was like, I don't know if we could get there. This seems just like a dream.
Why? Why were you scared? Why did you not believe that you could do it?
Nobody from my city, unless you were a rapper or a football player, nobody made it out. You know what I'm saying? And especially as a young black man living in Mobile, Alabama, that's all you saw is football is my way out. Or, you know, if you were very, very smart, you're like, okay, I can go to college and maybe go into the medical field and do something there. That's all I knew at that point. But I knew I was a little different because I was always thinking outside of the box artistically. Like, okay, what can I do in this aspect? What can I do in this realm? And eventually, once I got older, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, this is something I'm going to go after, regardless if I know anybody that came from my city who was an actor or actress. Yeah, I mean, I just had no representation. I had nothing in front of me. That's the main thing. I had nothing in front of me that I could look at. But then I learned what faith was. I learned what faith really was, because when I left football and when I went back home, I didn't know what my next step was. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to get to point A to point B. Like, it just had to happen in that sense. Like, I just had to lean on faith. That's all I had. So like most little boys where I'm from, they just don't have anybody to really show them the way, like to show them like this is how you do things in this aspect. Or, oh, I have for instance, Philly has Will Smith. And it's like, what does Mobile have? You know? And now obviously we have, an amazing, actress. She was in The Orange Is the New Black. I don't know how I am blanking on her name right now. Amazing actress. But other than that, we don't have anybody. So yeah, I think that's where that came from. Just not having enough representation, not being confident of who I was at the time and where I wanted to go with my life. So it's a magnitude of things.
And now you have yourself, and now you're one of those where people can look at you and say, listen, he made it, I could do it too. You know, not even just if it's acting or if it's anything else. They can be able to look at you and say, I could do anything now.
Right. And I think that's a part of my calling. See, a lot of people mistake their calling for their purpose. I was called to act, but my purpose is to help and cultivate the people around me, to serve. My name means victory of the people. So I take that very seriously. I take names very seriously. I think you are ordained your name for a certain reason. And when I really looked into the meaning of what my name meant, like victor of the people, I'm here to serve. I'm of service at all times, even as an artist. When any director, writer, they write a role for me, that role turns into a human. I'm in service of that human being, because I know there are a plethora of human beings just like the one that I am serving. So in that sense, I am servicing my community as well, so they can have somebody that they can see in these screens, in these rooms, opening up doors. They have somebody that they can say, okay, Nicolas G. Sims made it. I could do it too. And that's all I ever want, because I want anybody, every single youth, or you don't even have to be a youth. You could be 40 years old where I'm from and say, man, I could do it. And I want them to be like, okay, he did it, so I could do it too. That way, we're cultivating a community to grow outside of the common thing that we know, which is football, rap, pick up a basketball, pick up a baseball bat. Outside of that, what else can we do? Oh, shit, I can become a director. I become an actor. I don't know. Man, he just became an actor, and I saw him play. I'm not gonna play Barack Obama, but he just played Barack Obama. I could become president. Oh shoot! Like, he's from where I'm from, and he's navigating, playing this astronaut. I could become an astronaut. Like, the world could open up vastly when you think about representation of people that are coming from where you come from. So that is definitely a part of my purpose. And I would I would love down the line to go back home and, you know, start up a program for, you know, young people who want to become filmmakers, young people who want to become actors, directors, writers, and pour into them, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to pour into my people as much as possible. Hell, even where I'm at now, you know what I'm saying? Even being in New York, I want to pour into this community. I want to pour into every well and every pot that I can, because that's what I'm here for.
How do you think somebody can understand or make a distinction between the difference purpose and calling? Because when I hear that, right, like, I think my purpose, and I'm, you know, as you were talking, I was doing a little bit of self-reflection, like, well, what is my purpose, or what is my calling, right? I think, personally, I think my purpose is to inspire others, or
Yeah.
create a sense of connection within humans, because I feel like sometimes we lack that,
Right.
or motivate somebody that is trying to do something, right? Like, you see me came in with all this stuff myself. Like it doesn't have to just be you, right? But like having that dream and having that inspiration or that thought or that download, you know, from the Most High, to be like, let's go do it, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I think about my calling, I don't know if it's, you know, interviewing or having these uncomfortable conversations or these vulnerable conversations with people, talking about the things that might be, you might not hear a lot, or like cultivating a connection that more humans need to see. You know what I'm saying? So that was just a little my self-reflection. But if you could talk about how other people or the people viewing this could be able to understand their purpose or their calling, like how can they make the distinction between the two?
So if you are doing something, you're in the midst of being an analyst on Wall Street, and you get this spiritual, whatever it be, spiritual gut, sensational feeling that you need to stop what you're doing. And I'm using it as an example. You need to stop what you're doing and be the best street sweeper in Milwaukee. You are called to do that. You were called to do that. Any and everything that you do in this life, if you have an uneasy feeling about it, you're called to do something else. You should never float through this life without loving what you do first. So if the day that I don't love this, the phone line has got cut. I hung up. What is the next calling? What else am I called to do? What else am I compelled to do? What else is God pushing me to do? And that right there is the simplest way I can basically break down the distinction of your calling and your purpose. So I'm called to do many things. I'm not just called to be an actor. I'm called to be a friend. I'm called to be the best boyfriend that I can be. I'm called to be, you know, a helper. I was called here today, you know what I'm saying, to have this talk. Now, the purpose is totally different. The purpose, I feel like, is, you know, a plethora of things. Reflection, you know what I'm saying? The purpose is, you know, a reflection of journey. Purpose is to learn, you know what I'm saying, from one another, to gain wisdom, to just, you know what I'm saying, be present. My purpose isn't acting. I was called to act, but my purpose is infiltrated through my calling. So by me acting, me being called to act, I can affect millions and millions of hearts through what I do, through my art. And I think that's why we do what we do as artists. That's why we do what we do as human beings. Like we're here to be compassionate, to share love, to cultivate each other, I could go on and on, eons and eons, man. Like purpose and calling is something I've grown very strongly to in like these past 3 or 4 years, and I have a strong understanding of it now because of what I've been through and how I've been through it. So yeah.
Is it always that glamorous though? Like, is it always the smile on your face like that? Is that bug always there that you say that you were alluding to? Like, is it always, because obviously with life there's an ebb and flow, right? Like we'll ebb into the happiness, we'll ebb into the sadness. Like, is it always that joyful for you?
Hell no. Hell no. The waters that I have swam in, and I'm saying that literally, like figuratively and literally, the waters that I've been through have been troubled waters, and they've been smooth. And I've had to go through many obstacles to get to where I'm at now and where I'm going, because we're always going somewhere. But I've had many moments where through my calling, where I'm called to do it, because in acting you'll learn like some of the first things that you learn are your objectives, and your super objective. So my super objective is to be a successful actor, an artist, so that I can service humanity and or whomever. But my objectives attached to that are a pain in the ass. In order for me to be the greatest actor that I can be, I have to go work a restaurant job in New York, however many hours that may consist of, to pay my bills. My other objective is I have to use that money to go take a class so I can stay sharp, or to go get that expensive ass actor book so I can stay sharp. Or in the midst of that, my objectives are to do ABC audition in the midst of not having enough money for rent, not having enough money for food. These are my objectives, and these are the seasons that I have to go through in order to get to my super objective. It's not pretty at all. My objective is I have to leave home and not ask anybody for anything sometimes, and suffer in silence sometimes, and that's by choice. But I knew in order for me to grow, not only as a man, but as an artist, to grow wings in this field, I had to go through a season of troubled waters. I had to go through a season of storms and just a season where I had to go over hurdles and obstacles to be prepared for the plate that I am receiving now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been ready. I had to face financial woes in order to be here. And guess what? It never stops. No matter how far you get, what I'm learning, no matter how far you get with your version of success, there's always going to be something that you either have to go through or have to learn to get that super objective. Because guess what? I'm still on my path to my super objective still. And it's not pretty. There are seasons where it's like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But also through those seasons, there are going to be some things that come along the way that you're going to have to face. And then it's going to be ugly. Like, it just is, man. Like, in the midst of that, oh my goodness, let's throw character building in there. Relationships, let's throw that in there. Loss of friends, people dying in the midst of that. There's so much stuff that is going on in the path of you getting to your super objective, aka your calling, that it can be very, very, very unmotivating. It could leave you some days saying, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much. But you were called to do this at the end of the day. And you have to be obedient to that calling. When God calls you to do something, you got to be obedient to that. So with that being said, I know a lot of people make jokes about this, but you are his strongest soldier in this season. And you have to not only win that war, you got to win each and every single battle that comes along with it. It is what it is. And once you get on the other side, you're going to be thankful for every single objective that you have tasked off.
Why do you think some people give up, or in that midst of the storm? Why do you believe that some people just, nah, I'm gonna tap out, right? Like, I'm not gonna go through it. Why do you believe that? At least from, observing the world, observing yourself, why do people just stop, or they just don't want to go through with the pain or the suffering?
Right. There's a plethora of things. I think most importantly, one, we live in a microwavable society. Everybody wants instant success now. So with that being said, everybody that I watched growing up, whether it be a football player, whether it be an actor, whether it be a podcast interviewer, whether it be an artist, a music artist, they all had to go through a certain amount of steps to get to where they're at. I could think of the greats. Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson, LeBron James, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, the list goes on. All of these people had to face an insurmountable amount of obstacles to get to where they're at. With that being said, this generation, they don't want to work for shit. Point blank period. They don't want to work for nothing. And when I say that with the most sensitive heart. But the reason why I say that is because a lot of people want to, in my field, they want to knock out an audition, right? And you could have did the best audition ever. They want to do an audition. They be like, all right, cool. I did the best audition ever. I deserve my Oscar right now. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, they want the role. But, and that used to be me. But you got to learn that everything that's great in this life, if you actually work for it and you put in the work for it, it's the most rewarding feeling ever. It's the most rewarding feeling ever when you put in work for something and you work so hard for it and you finally receive that thing that you've been working so hard for. Is the most exhilarating feeling in the world. Nothing can beat it. And it's like, damn, all of that hard work paid off. If you just keep digging. And a lot of people give up because of that first thing. They feel like they need instant gratification. Also, a lot of people have a lack of belief. A lot of people don't believe in anything. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a source that they pull from. You have to believe in something to keep hope alive. You have to believe in something to keep your journey alive. If anything, you know what I'm saying? I believe in God. I'm not saying everybody should believe in what I believe in, but believe in something so you can, live to fight another day, live to fight another step. That belief is going to drive you through and through each and every single day. It's going to give you power. It's going to infiltrate you with, the strength to go on and to battle through these seasons. Because on the other side, with that belief, you know that either God is on your side, you believe in the universe is on your side, is working for you. You believe in, Buddha, whomever, someone is pushing or something is pushing for you to push you in the right direction of great synergy. And the lack of belief, and thirdly, what I'm saying, I think a lot of people give up because they're not taking care of themselves mentally as well. You know what I'm saying? And this right here, what we're chasing, like whether it be acting, whether it be a career in music, whether it be, a career as a podcast interview, whatever it may be, I wake up every single day and I have to have a routine. No matter if I was fucking broke or if I have it, or whether if I'm sad, mad, happy, I have to have a morning routine. I wake up every single morning. First thing I'm going to do is read that Bible. Second thing I'm going to do is meditate. Third thing I'm going to do is voice and movement. Because if you don't get that voice movement, especially what I do, if you don't get that out of your system, for me, I'm not going to be able to operate. And some people use music. Some people listen to jazz in the morning, this and the third. Some people journal. I like to journal too as well. A lot of people don't have that one thing that they consistently can draw back to ground them. You need something that's going to ground you. Even if it's not what I just said, like the routine in the morning, that grounds me. That works for me. But if you need to call mama. Don't be sitting in your room, depressed and, the world's against you. Have something that's going to ground you. And I feel like there's a plethora of things, but those are the three main things that stand out for me as why people give up the way that they do. Instant gratification being number one. That's the number one killer in this generation. Instant gratification. In this social media, it's the way you use social media though. You know what I'm saying? It's the way that you look at social media because it can be healthy. But if you're looking at somebody on TikTok, man, damn, he got 25,000 likes in like an hour. I could get that too. Yeah, bet. Let me put out a video tomorrow. But you don't know what that dude did. Like, he might have one video up right now, but you don't know about all the past videos that he did to build up to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if we're going to go into this territory, like, for instance, I watched Desi Banks and Drewski from the time that they were small to now. They wasn't getting 1 million, 10 million views. They wasn't getting that. Desi was putting up videos. He barely got 100 likes sometimes. Drewski would put up videos, barely get 300 likes, maybe get 1,000 views. But they was consistent with what they did. A lot of people lack consistency. A lot of people are inconsistent, and they want that instant gratification because a lot of people like to obsess over the latter end of your success. They don't want to look at the in between, the ugly crevices, the cracks and crevices. They don't want to look at that. They don't want to look at the steps. No, they're obsessed with the top. They're obsessed with where you're at. They don't want to see all that shit that came along with it. They don't want to. They want that instant gratification.
Everything changed once I realized that everything could change. Once I realized that you can post one video and everything could change after that, I think that's what kept me going.
Yeah.
Or the people that was around me that said like, hey, I like the podcast,
Yeah.
just whatever it is,
Yeah, man.
just one video, whatever it may be. And I guess when I look at, other people in the fields of like, doesn't have to be podcasting, but just when you see that somebody is just consistently getting up, right? And just after being knocked down, or they posted a video, got maybe like 50 views,
Right.
and they
Right.
still get back up the next day.
Right.
It's that we're not patient enough with ourselves and patient enough with success. And I do think
Yeah.
it stems from that, looking at the top and not appreciating the journey along the way. I think
Right.
that's really what it, also boils down
Yeah.
to that, the
Yeah.
journey along the way.
It creates a false interpretation of gratification and success. That shit ain't real. That shit ain't real. Like, you think I know all 15K of my phone? I don't know them, but I appreciate them. But in the real world, if I heard this like the other day, literally, if 50 people were to walk up to you in real life, right, and say, "Man, I like your podcast," that shit would make you feel great. You walking down the road and 50 people just said they liked what you're putting out. 50 likes
That's
seem,
it.
50 likes seems really great now. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of us have gotten so obsessed with how many likes that we're getting, how many comments that we're getting, how many shares we're getting. Now it's expounded past that now. People are like, oh, how many people are resharing my posts on the store? Like, none of that matters. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And even to backtrack, when you have a purpose, when you have a calling, what you're doing isn't for that. What you're doing isn't for that. I don't do this shit for the money. I don't do this for the fame. If I can affect one person by what I'm doing, and they can be changed or cultivated by what I'm doing in my storytelling, whether it be what I'm saying, I did my job. I don't need to even look any further than that. It's not supposed to me being like making a movement and affecting millions. That would be great. You know what I'm saying? Like, to affect millions, obviously cool. If that happens, it happens. But it's like, if I can change that one person's heart, their mind, the way they think, the way they look at things, I did my job. I don't need all this gratification, because guess what? I'm not here for that. I'm not here to receive gratification. All I need to do and be put on here, I'm here to make art. And after I make that art, is no longer mine. I'm done with it. After I do a role, that role is no longer mine. It's for the audience, for the people. And whatever they decide to do with it from that point on is none of my business, And the same, with people who create things on social media. I feel like it should come from a different place of, you know what? Like this moment. We just had a great moment, right? When we're talking, and we're talking about things that people can learn from. Somebody's going to see this, and somebody's going to be affected by what I might have said, or you might have said, and anything that we said. And by the time, it gets out there, it's like, oh, as long as one person or two, whatever, people were affected by what we did, then we did our job. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be this figment of imagination that we've created, this false sense of success that we've created as society, where it's like, okay, the only way that, I'm going to feel like that I am worthy is if I have a blue check, or if I'm gonna feel worthy is if I, if I reach this certain amount of followers. Like let's stop keeping up with that, man. Like stop keeping up with numbers to track what success is. Success should be your own version of what it is, and my success is, like I told you, the type of man I've become, and me and my relationship with God, and how much closer am I getting with the person that I feel like created me. So yeah, that's my spill on it. I know I can talk on and on about that, but yeah.
What would you say that, besides that, I would say that that's something that you learned about yourself in this endeavor of acting? What is another thing that truly at the top of your list has truly impacted you? Or what have you learned about yourself in this endeavor?
I learned that I wasn't patient enough. And the reason why I learned that is in two aspects. For one is in my relationship. The right relationship is going to teach you a lot of things about yourself that you need to work on. For instance, I thought I was the greatest boyfriend on the planet Earth. But, when you have a partner that's challenging you as a person to, be a better person, there are going to be some things, some traumas, some, flaws that are going to expose themselves. And it's up to you to identify those things so you can fix them. With that being said, I wasn't the perfect person that I thought that I was. I thought that I was perfect. And through my season of, transitioning into, a better place in my life, there were some past things that I look back on that I didn't do necessarily right. And with that being said, I can reflect on those things much more than reflecting on when I was down and I got this. No, I reflect more so on the person that I was and the things I'm doing now to fix these things. So yeah, to echo back on that, my relationship has taught me how to be a better listener. It has taught me how to literally be more, compassionate. Because I thought I was already compassionate enough. But, there are things that you have to take in consideration when you are sharing a space. Because I live with my partner. So there are certain things that you have to be aware of, and that you have to, your senses have to be in tune of. And I think it's made me a better man, and not only a better man, but a better artist, because I am living life fully conscious of everything, not living life in this bubble world where I'm like, I'm perfect, where I'm like, I have it all together, where, like I'm like, I don't make any mistake. I say all the right things. If I'm being honest with myself, a lot of times I am not right about every single thing. But this chapter of my life, living with somebody, growing with them, has taught me that. It's taught me a lot about myself, and I think it's perfect. I learned this too. I think it's perfect to be imperfect. So, and I think that is great. And to piggyback on the patience part, the double sworded road is like, also in this period of time, I've had to grow my patience even more because I learned how anxious that I can become. See, I'm a person where I like to work. Like I realize that now. I'm like, man, I'm very ambitious when it comes to my craft and what I want to do and how I want my career to come out. Like I know that I'm ambitious, and I know I drive my reps crazy because I'm like, they're like, man, he's never satisfied, and that comes from a place I'm not having much. But with that being said, like I could use that for good, and it can also be detrimental to my mental health and the way I go about life. And the reason why it's detrimental in this space is because I need to be, thankful of where God has placed me. See, I got so caught up in the moment because I get into character. So I got caught up in the moment for this season. I did 7 months fully indulged into this human being and where he was supposed to be navigated. That I never took a moment to realize what I had really accomplished. Like, I realized what I accomplished, but I didn't realize where God had brought me. And it was only until literally last week I dropped a weight on my toe. And again, I don't know why it happens with injuries with me, you know what I'm saying, where I have to stop and reflect, just like my hip in college, where I have to stop and reflect and for God to show me something, because I never fully break anything. I had to wear a boot. I had to sit still for a minute with my thoughts, and I'm like, oh, wow, God, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I have to slow down and smell the flowers and appreciate how far you brought me. I'm over here asking for more, but I'm not acting like a believer, or I'm not acting like I have faith in the next steps or your plan. I'm over here asking for more, and I'm being more anxious than I ever been. Is it because I'm scared of falling back into the place that I was? Absolutely. But in that being said, I have to have, again, what I had when I first moved to New York: faith. I have to have what I had when I quit football to fully pursue acting: faith. Why at the height at one of the most remarkable things that I've done thus far in my acting career, after it, that I lose it? Why am I losing faith now? And I realized in that moment, I said, man, that's what it was. You lost faith in this moment. You need to slow down. Like, not slow down necessarily, but just take a minute to realize where I brought you. And that's God talking, where I brought you and where I placed you. And the rest is going to take care of itself. Patience and faith. It take you a long way. So, and that's what I've learned in the span of this entire year. Patience and faith, resilience, becoming more in tune with my feelings consciously, and being conscious of others, just because of my relationship and where I'm at in my life now. It's a beautiful thing to be learning at this age. So yeah,
there's a certain level of obsession that it seems that you take your work of. You it's before the podcast I told you it's like the Kobe Jordan.
yeah.
You take it to the extreme,
Yeah.
it seems, because of the passion, the care that you have. And there was a post that you made that you locked yourself in a room for a week straight for one of the parts that you were doing.
Yeah, man.
What kind of level of obsession do you think that it takes to truly be great?
Oh, wow. I think it takes an insane amount of obsession to be great. I think that it takes almost a level of obsession for people to think that you're so fucking crazy in the obsession that you have, that they might think without you having that, you might die. I really do. And I think I'm at that level of obsession that I'm like crazy about what I do. because I really love it, and I'm obsessed with the human condition. I'm obsessed with how people live and interact with each other, and I'm obsessed with, you know, everything about the human condition. Yeah, like I can't even go further than that, but like more so than anything, like you said, Kobe, he would, train hours and hours and hours until, his knees were starting to buckle because maybe he didn't do well in a game or whatever, but that showed the dedication, the discipline, but also it showed how much he loved his craft and what he did. And I think that Mamba mentality, I adopted that, when I was playing football. I used to train, and hours and hours and hours until I would fall out, because, I wanted to just be great. I don't think that I think I was obsessed with football at the time, and I felt that obsession. But now, when I think you have to have that moment of obsession meeting love. If obsession meets love, oh my goodness, become a crazy guy. But nah, more so than anything, when obsession meets love, it becomes a beautiful thing. It's like a new child is born, and you want to make sure that you nurture that child, you take care of it, and you want to make sure that that child is being grown into this beautiful seed. You want to make sure that this child is being blossomed into this beautiful flower that you've planted, and I'm speaking figuratively, but like literally, you want to make sure that child is taken care of. And I feel like the craft of acting, at first it started out as my baby, and now I feel like a child that I'm taking care of each and every single day. And I have to keep that, I have to keep that child afloat and make sure that it's being nurtured. With that being said, there's not a day that goes by where I'm not getting better, where I'm not digesting, where I'm not watching actors on actors, or, I'm not watching a film or reading a play or working on voice and movement. I'm working on a monologue. Each and every single day, I feel like I have something to learn. And that's because that obsession just meant love. I love what I do. And when you love something, you want to take care of it. And I feel like it's my job, especially being in love with it, that I have to take care of what God instilled me with, this gift. I can't let it go away. It's almost like a dad giving you a bicycle as a gift. And the moment you get the training wheels taken off, cool. You just gonna ride the bike one time, 2, 3 times, and just let it sit in the garage. No, you're gonna ride that bike because maybe you come from a situation where it was hard for dad to afford that bike, and you're appreciative, and it might be the best gift that you were ever been given. You're gonna ride that bike every day, like you love it. And that's literally what I'm doing. I'm riding that bike every single day because I love it. I'm intentional with every single thing I do because I love it. So when you bring back up that memory of me being locked inside of my room, that was for the Hunger Games audition. Now, that was obsession meets love plus love. You know what I'm saying? Like, unfortunately and fortunately, I didn't get the role. There was another actor that was blessed with the role that he was great for the part. But I just remember that week I grew as not only as an artist, but I grew as a person too. And I think, that level of commitment that I showed for that particular moment in that particular human, it changed the way that I approached all my roles. I needed that moment. And it did something to me where now I just don't look at a role and I see just the character or the black and white. I see a human being. Like, I see blood and flesh flowing through the paper. I don't just see black and white. And I think with me loving that whole franchise of Hunger Games, and really falling in love with the character, falling in love with the whole spectrum of the story, I wanted to make sure that I nurtured that human being, and I was careful and cautious with the way that I presented it, because it's not just an audition for me. I'm performing every single time, whether it's an audition, whether I'm on set and I already have the role, whether it's a callback, whether it's a cold read, which is basically I'm just reading the words and we're just seeing if I, have the right temperature for this exact role. No, every single thing for me is literally me nurturing what I've been instilled with. And that's because I love it. And with that love comes obsession. You know what I'm saying? It's man, I would like to think that I'm obsessed with my girlfriend, or I love her. So it's like I'm gonna make sure she's taken care of at all times. Like, I think even when we first say mommy and daddy, like, we become obsessed with our parents because it's the first thing that we see and we are in love with them. So when I discovered acting, and I discovered what the multitude of stories, and I discovered, August Wilson, I discovered Susan Lori Parks, oh my goodness, like Tennessee Williams, I'm sorry, all of these amazing playwrights, Katori Hall, Jesus, there was no other way there was no way I couldn't be obsessed with what I do. It's just, yeah, man. You gonna have me talking forever, man.
But there seems to be a downside to it, though.
100%.
There seems to be a downside because I can think of Heath Ledger, Robin Williams, like people that I mean, I've even seen it with like Evan Peters, in terms of like their characters and
Right.
and how Heath Ledger, how that Joker role, like as perfect as it was in my eyes, like a 10 out of 10.
Right.
How that role and how obsessed he was with it, right?
Yeah.
Like not brushing his teeth for months because he wanted to be able to get the Joker look.
Yeah.
Or like Robin Williams and how, he seemed happy, but behind the scenes he was depressed,
100%.
And even like Evan Peters, I hear stuff about him, all the roles that he's done with like Jeffrey Dahmer and his stuff with American Horror Story. Like, there's a level to obsession that could take you over the edge,
100%,
right?
Yeah.
Where you're now borderline depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of, I guess, to know, I've always wondered this about actors, right? Like, after hearing so many stories like that, how does their mental health play into that as well? Getting
100%.
obsessed into the character, but also like, I might also need to take care of my mental health.
So, I mean, oh my goodness, you just explained. I mean, you just touched on some really dark roles, you know what I'm saying, too, for these particular actors, especially, one, Heath Ledger, I feel like he had fun with, but also was very detrimental to his mental health as well. With that being said, with them being so great, and I think it's commendable how much they really put into the craft. But also, as a young actor, I've been blessed enough to be surrounded around teachers who have built kind of this, system for me to have an outlet for. And I think every actor should have that outlet. So if I'm working on a certain amount of dark material for a certain amount of time, I need to be able to have an outlet. And it could look different for every actor. So for instance, on this season of P Valley, I won't spoil anything, but I had some in character work. I had some dark moments where I went to some places and saw some things visually that normally I wouldn't touch upon each and every single day because it's just so dark and it's so painful to visit these things. But thank God for Larry Moss, and thank God for Harry Schiffman, and thank God for all of these teachers who've poured into me to be able to say, okay, I just did this. I go home, I meditate, I pray, I do my decompression, and I can step away and journal because I was blessed enough. Katori Hall blessed me with a journal this season. Write every single experience that I had down that day in the character, and then as myself, tear the paper out, throw it away. That was my way of washing away for the day. You know what I'm saying? A lot of actors don't do that. A lot of actors, because your body and your mind doesn't know that this is what you're doing isn't real. So you have to have a way of pulling yourself out of that thing, or out of that feeling, or out of that state of mind. You have to have something, or it will eventually tear you up, or it would eventually affect your mental health. I think it's very important to find a system. If you don't find a system, then this business, this craft will eat you up, and you won't be mentally healthy, or you won't be, a lot of people say they don't think they're mentally stable for this career. I think the first thing that you have to do is know yourself more than anything once you begin this craft and understand what you're getting into. Because there is nothing like, I put it like this. If you have a whiteboard full of writing, right? And it just has all this writing on it, and I attempt to go on and write over it, are you going to understand anything or get anything out of anything that's being put on the whiteboard? Exactly. No. With that being said, my vessel, me, Nicholas, I have to be fully clean. And I know this sounds scary, but vulnerably, I have to be fully clean. So that means everything that I am dealing with, everything that I'm worrying about, everything that I'm battling, I have to face that before I step into, which my character's name in P Valley is. I have to clean everything. I have to clean the whole slate before I step into Calvin. Because if I don't, it will be hard for me to mentally differentiate Calvin's feelings from Nick's feelings. Now I'm going to start to confuse the way Calvin feels with the way Nick is feeling. You see what I'm saying? If I don't do that decompression, if I don't know myself more than anybody else will, if I don't do that work, I will drive myself crazy and I will go insane. So those dark moments for me are prevented because I do have a system where I'm healthy about it and where that I'm pulling myself out from it. And everybody approaches the craft differently. I know some people, they'll go to set, and they do what you call a method or whatever, and literally they won't talk to anybody and stuff like that. And I think for me, I found a healthy, happy median where I can pull myself in and out of things because that's healthy for me. So, I don't have what you call a so-called method. I learned from Larry to pull from every single method that you can possible and combine them into one so that you can pull from a bucket of tools. You know what I'm saying? They have Meisner, they have, Stella Adler, they have Stanislavski, they have all these different type of methods that you can just pull from. And, they have method acting. And I feel like for me, what's healthy for me is I could just pull from each and every single method. And I again, like, I know I'm like rambling, but I literally am thankful for Larry Moss and Harry Schiffman and all of the other teachers who have instilled in me these systems of how to have an outlet, because a lot of actors don't. A lot of old school actors, they've, I remember reading, I think listening to Matthew McConaughey, and he was saying like, his first time on set, he just had to, really dive deep into like his mental. And, for a first time actor, like to, say, oh, this is what I love, this is what this world. Now you create that habit, you know what I'm saying? If math, because I just recently read I'm reading his book now. If he didn't have an outlet, the amount of roles that he did, oh my goodness, I think he would be crazy. Literally, he would be fucking batshit crazy if he didn't have an outlet, because that's all he uses is his mind. And that's all I do. I use my mind, my heart, and my spirit for every single role that I approach. But the key word is spirit. Like I find God in every single role. I find love in every single role. Even when there's hate, hate is grown from love. So I think I just have a very strong understanding of who Nick is. I have a very strong system of how to let go of these feelings that I am feeling in real time with these characters. And there's even feelings that I might feel from, battling with these humans' feelings that I have to decompress from and be like, man, I felt that today. Like, damn, like I felt that for him. Like, this is heavy. What do I do about it? Journal, meditate, pray, decompress, and then I'm ready to go. It's not that easy for everybody, but like for me, it works.
That's a that's a method. One of my previous guests and my mentor, I would call him a mentor friend, Blake Gus, told me about. If he's watching, a shout out to Blake. But
Yeah,
the method that you talked about, where you write it down, right, and you throw it away, like that's a method of not only one letting go, but detaching. Like you're detaching from it. You wrote it out. Now you let your feelings out, your emotions out, and now you're letting it go.
Right.
You're not letting it hold on to you for the next day because Calvin's got to show up. And if you're mixing the Nick feelings with Calvin's feelings, then it might not be the best for you to show up in the best authentic way, at least. You talked about a little bit, P Valley.
Mm-hmm.
What is the cast? What has that show meant for your career? It's a big show. It's on Stars. Like that's a
I am grateful that it's on like such a huge platform. I'm grateful that it's such a huge show. But in the totality of things, I don't really care that it's a huge show or it's big. What I really care about is this world that Katori Hall has created. Like, I feel like she is a mastermind and she's a genius, and she really understands how to write these people. And the way I say is like, when you first go on the screen, you see somebody in a gold grills, tattoos. We all speaking like this, you know what I'm saying? What music, we speaking like that. And you see these people and you're like, wait a minute. Okay, who are they actually? And these people have real feelings. They have stories. They they have real life emotions. And in the South, where and the people in the South are heavily portrayed as like, if you see somebody, where I come from as Calvin or, as Lil Murder or whatever, he like, I'm gonna be vulgar. That's just another nigga. Just another statistic or another whatever. But no, like these are human beings that have real feelings, are going through real things. They're going through real emotions. They have motives behind the things that they do, and they're very intentional. They could be sensitive. They could be multi-layered and multi-complex. And I'm so blessed that Katori created this world called Chucalissa, Mississippi, and she's done it in a way where I've learned so much, and I've been, in a way, rerouted back to my roots, where I come from, Mobile, Alabama. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity. It's been life changing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think of life changing in terms of finances and in terms of like instant like success and like blowing up and stuff like that. I don't care about it. I don't care about that at all. I care about growing as an artist. I care about growing as a human being. And I've done that. Just portraying this character throughout this season, I've grown as a person. I've grown as an artist because of the character and because of Katori and the words that she's providing, and also the storytelling in the world and the texture of this world. And not to mention the actors that I'm playing with. They're tremendous, and this unique world where you find people from Broadway, off Broadway, they're all in service of this story, and you will find them, and they're doing beautiful work, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it. When I first got cast for role, I knew how the magnitude of what I was getting myself into and the magnitude of the show. But once I really immersed myself into this world, I did not expect what people are going to see in season 3. Like, I did not expect any of it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything that, and it came so timely because I was debating moving back home, before I got on P Valley. I was about to go back home to Mobile, Alabama. I was about to go back home and just say, you know what? I was talking to my girl, and I know at the time, I was staying with her mom and stuff like that. I wasn't getting a call for real, and I was like, I think I overstayed my visit, and I might have to go back home. And back home it wasn't the best option for me because at that time, especially last year, we had some of the most murders I think in the country, and a lot of them were unintentional. You know what I'm saying? It was unintended for that person. So that being said, I just didn't want to put myself back in that environment. But by that time, I barely had money to buy chopped cheese. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, man, I can't live like this. I gotta probably regroup, go back home, and whatever. But God had different plans for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, by the grace of God, I got a call from my manager one night, and she was like, "It's yours." I couldn't believe those words, and I'm like, man, like, throughout this whole entire process, like, Katori Hall believed in me, like this kid from Mobile, Alabama, who didn't know where his life was headed. I didn't know what direction I was gonna go in, and I I was just doing something I loved at this point, you know what I'm saying? I fell in love with this character, and I prayed. I actually prayed before I even got the role. I prayed. I told God, I was like, whoever gets this role, because it wasn't for I wasn't praying for me. I was praying for Calvin. I said, I told God, whoever gets this role, I pray that they give it their all, and that they tell the story truthfully and honest, and they take care of this. I said I pray that they take care of this human being, no matter who gets it. And literally the next day I got a call, and I was like, this is crazy. God will give you, he will come through for you when you just have faith and you just let go. Because a lot of the times we like to hold on to the steering wheel and try to control every single turn and ebb and flow that we're going to go on. But no, you have to let go and literally let God. And that's what I did in that moment. I let go, and I was like, man, I don't have control over this process. I'm going to give it to you. And Katori Hall saw something in me that was, that a lot of people didn't see in, Stars, Lionsgate, everybody, they just saw something that I didn't even see at the time of myself. I was just crafting. Man. And, once I got there, I'm not even gonna say magic happened. Like, God happened, man. Katori Hall and God happened, man. That's what happened. Because originally I wasn't even supposed to be there that long, the amount of episodes that I'm in, and by the grace of God, like it just happened that way. And it's been life changing for me. Like, man, what a role. You know what I'm saying? Like when people watch it, see, what I'm talking about, they'll understand, what I'm talking about. Such a vulnerable role, such a transformative role. Like it was a blessing. And people ask me, what's my dream role? I've never had a dream role, like, ever. Like, I've always looked at superheroes and like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, oh God, fuck, I wanna be Cyborg or some shit. Nah, like, but in that moment, like when I was done with it, I was like, damn, man, this was a dream role. I got to literally play every level of emotion I could ever think of in one season. And I didn't even know it was coming. That's a dream role for me. If I ever thought of one, that was a dream role right there. So I guess my dream role is my next role, whatever that may be. But man, it was transformative. I'm truly forever thankful for P-Valley, man. It changed my life. It changed my way of thinking. My family, everybody, every cast member that I ever, prayed with, that I've ever, played with in a scene, that I've ever had conversations with, from the cast to the crew, everybody welcomed me in. I was new, man. This show been going on for 2 seasons, so to come in and feel like I fit seamlessly into this big puzzle that they've already created, it was amazing. It was nothing but love, and I love every single body that I ever came across, and I'm truly honored that I got a chance to play with them. And it was the toughest thing for me to do, to let go of Calvin at the end of the season. I was just like, it's my last shoot. I gotta let go. And it was the toughest thing I ever had to do. One of the toughest things I ever had to do in my life. So yeah, man, bro, that shit changed my life, man, for real. Like, and it isn't even out yet, and I know it's not out, but like, as a person, as a artist, I changed so much, man. From it, from this experience, it was everything. It was everything, man. For real.
You feel like it's the do you feel like it's the door? You feel like that door is open now for abundance of roles for you to choose from after not being able to choose from a role, right? Now this one experience kind of leads you to so many open doors now. Do you feel like
Yeah,
that did that for you?
man. I don't like to think of things in terms of like I know I catch myself saying it a lot, like career and stuff like that, and trajectory. I don't like to think of things like that. I kind of like to take, things step by step and see how they kind of play out. But I feel like the best way to answer that is Katori Hall opened up a plethora of layers for me to play in. With that being said, I got to express so many different colors, hues, and temperatures and expressions within this season that I've put everything on full display that you could ever think of within a character. And, I pray that whoever is watching can see the different levels that I've worked with. And I think in that sense, it will open up another door for me to walk into another project. I can't specifically say doors because I'll leave that up to God. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happens. Um, whatever happens from the role, whether it's blowing up or transformative, something. I know who's ever turning on any episode that this character and me walk through, I know that it will open up a door for sure. I don't know how many doors. I can't count how many doors. That's not my I don't have that determining factor, but I do know that we put a lot of work and love into this season and into this character specifically. So I'm excited.
So it hasn't already opened up any doors currently in terms of like, you announcing it, you on shoot. Has there been any direct effects currently or in the works, or I don't know if you're able to disclose that, but
So I think when the biggest misconception a lot of people have is like, for one, everybody, well, first off, when you get a deadline article and people post that you're gonna be on a really big show, number one thing people think is that like you're rich. And I just want to put it out there that I am not rich. Yeah, I'm not rich, not yet. I don't have all the money in the world, and literally like I have people that I used to go to school with that I ain't talked to since goddamn middle school probably. Literally hitting me up like asking me like, oh man, you can spot me here, spot me there, this and that third. And I'm like, man, I barely made it to this point to get here. You know what I'm saying? I'm still fighting every single day my finances. But no, but I think that's just the biggest misconception is like everybody thinks like, yeah, oh, in the acting world especially, like, oh man, you on deadline, you made it. No, I gotta work just as hard as every single body else. Like I have to work just as hard as everybody else. I have to audition like everybody else. I have to fight for roles like everybody else. And I'm thankful for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for that. I don't want people to just look at an article and be like, okay, we like the way he looks. Let's cast him. I don't want that. I want people to, actually see my work. Or I want people to see my audition because I want them to know this is how I see the character and this is the world I see for the character. And the collaborator, whoever I'm working with, director, writer, producer, they might not like the way that I present this world, and that's okay. We'll find another project, but it necessarily hasn't. I don't have offers, on the table where people are like, man, we want to offer you this, offer you that. I don't have that. I don't have uh, an insane. I don't have an increasing amount of auditions. I don't have that. Um, it's just as slow for me as it is for everyone else. Now, in terms of the type of projects that are coming my way, that has changed. Like in terms of the roles and stuff like that, has gotten bigger because obviously once you step into a certain role, you can't piggyback into doing co-stars anymore or doing like a guest star. Like I stepped into a really pivotal role for this season as a strong recurring. So with that being said, now we're looking at more series regular roles are coming through the inbox. More, recurring roles are coming through the inbox for me to audition for. More strong supporting in films, leads. Those are coming through. Not crazy amount, but they're coming. And I'm sure after the industry kind of sparks up in a few weeks, I'll have more to come. Right now I'm just working on my own stuff, being patient and stuff like that. And I I imagine stuff will start to change once the show comes out though. Like once the show comes out, that's a different conversation. But right now, I'm enjoying like, this time. A lot of my castmates told me the fans are crazy, and they told me to enjoy this time of like, solace and just solitude and just being at peace and stuff like that, because it can get crazy. And I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying every moment. I'm taking that advice because I see it happening in their lives where it's chaotic, at all times. And then, they have to do this, have to do that, have to do this, have to do that. They're known by this person, they're known by that person. Like, I'm enjoying going out to dinners with my girlfriend, or going to the library, or wherever it may be, just simply as Nick and not the character. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It hasn't been an instant change, thank God. I'm not a person who really wants like I don't really care for all that attention and stuff like that. I'm just here for the work, man. I'm here for the people. That's it.
Is there any actor that you want to work with? Like, is there somebody that you don't have a dream role, you said, but like, is there a dream actor that you'd want to be working with?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. Oh, that's a really great
I mean,
question.
if I was an actor, I'd want to work with Denzel because he just
Oh
looks like
wow.
an incredible.
You know what? I would love to work with Denzel, but an actor that really gets overshadowed a lot that I would love to work with is Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright, when I saw him in Basquiat, American Fiction, when you look at his catalog of films, he does such strong work. And I think his ability to do such strong character work really intrigues me. And it almost kind of teeters and points me in the direction of what kind of artist I want to be in terms of like in the acting world and even on stage. I don't know if you're familiar with his stage work, but he's incredible on stage as well. Just as good on stage as he is on the screen. Jeffrey Wright is someone I would definitely dream of working with. Of course, everybody gonna say Denzel. I mean, I love Denzel, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Denzel is great. But I definitely would love to work with Jeffrey Wright. I think he could play my dad or something like that. I don't know. Jeffrey Wright. I list four. Shit. Jeffrey Wright, Will Smith, Denzel Washington, and this is very ambitious. But Daniel Day-Lewis, I would love to pull him out of retirement. But yeah, you can only wish.
Jeffrey Wright, we're coming. We're gonna clip that, and we're gonna hope that you see
Yes,
it.
please.
We're gonna hope that you see it on TikTok or wherever you find it.
Please, Jeffrey, please make this happen. Like somebody make a father son movie happen. Let's go. Let's do it.
It could be the football. Could be like a football son, football dad.
Man, he
Listen,
would be perfect. Yeah.
There is I want to be able to get the direct quote, but I want to be able to. There was something I saw on Instagram, and I'm gonna read right from it. And it was posted actually like last year, close to the end of last year, and it was a transparency post, and I thought it was interesting for the people around you to know, or like to discuss further, because when a post, you can only talk about so much.
Right.
It said, "Hey family, I know this is an app built on highlights, but I like to show everyone we're all humans. So for the past 2 years, mentally and spiritually, I have not felt like myself. And for a long time, it's felt like I've been operating on autopilot. There have been times where this life stuff may have seemed like it was getting so hard that I wanted to give up. I lost homeboy after homeboy, went broke a million times, and damn near went spiritually broke. There have been other times over these past 2 years where I've lost myself and haven't always acted accordingly. I'm saying all this to say that there is a God and also therapy. Take care of your temple, because that's all you have at the end of the day. Commit to being the best version of yourself each and every day. You got this, I promise. You're stronger than you think. As long as you surround yourself with a good community and keep God first, you'll always prevail. I'm saying this because I am not perfect, nor do I have everything figured out. Just thought I would share this because I feel like a little bit more like myself today. I'm still figuring myself out and life more and more. To be God the glory." When you posted that, what were you feeling within those past year and a half, 2 years, like as a reflection now, a couple months later?
I was so the first 2 years I moved to New York, I was in like a lot of people don't know, but I was in a very, very dark place. And only I knew, because, I was the person that if you saw me, I would smile and I would act like everything was like, fine. And I think around that time, I don't think I was, praying as much, or I didn't have that outlet, or, I let a lot of things kind of get to me, like mentally. And I was just navigating with the soul that was kind of empty at that time. I was just like operating basically with no light at the end of the tunnel, just pretty much just existing and coexisting and stuff like that. But more so in anything, like through those 2 years, I lost a lot of friends, and they passed away. And I didn't know how to handle that. Just being, because I didn't have enough funds, and I wasn't gonna ask my parents to fly me back in for like every funeral that happened. So that was one that weighed heavy on me. I feel like just seeing that, and also I felt defeated a lot because I was trying to get it right financially, and I just never could. I would always, be behind on rent. I would always be behind on bills, and sometimes I just couldn't make it a month. Um, it was getting exhausting, and specifically more so, I was indulging in, into the wrong relationships. I was pouring into some of the wrong people, and mixing my energy with energies that it shouldn't be mixed with necessarily. And I was just lost. To say as simple as that, I was lost. And I knew that I had I knew that spiritually I had got off track, and I did fall into a state of I fell into a state of deep depression because like it was just getting hard. It was getting really hard. So yeah, that was a moment where I kind of just wanted to give up acting. I'm not suicidal or anything like that, but like just say fuck it with life. I didn't know what that meant. Like just like give up everything. Just like man, fuck it, man. This shit's hard. But during that time, I don't know exactly when I posted that, but I had a conversation with my close friend Blake around that time, and we had a really strong heart to heart, and he gave me the words of encouragement to kind of keep me going. And around that time I think that's when I had started talking to my girlfriend at the time, and I had some people in my life around that time that was keeping me afloat too as well mentally, like Lee. Um and yeah, man, I just had to get back on my knees and pray again, man, and kind of find some healthy outlets and get rid of some old relationships. Step into a new season of, you know, shedding old skin and becoming new again. So I think that was a very hard time for me, man. Those 2 years I went through a lot, man. I went through a lot, man. So but nothing that I couldn't handle. But I think it was just like, man, like this is becoming a cycle. I've been dealing with this. I've been dealing this since a kid. So like, man, like growing up with a single mother, split household, and seeing two different sides of the spectrum. Growing up with a mom who tried her best to provide for her kids, and in a household where sometimes you might come back. She tried her best, but the lights cut off. She tried her best, but the water cut off. She tried her best, but the heat cut off, and she tried her best a lot of the times, and would somehow seem to fall short every single time. I saw that for years. No matter what child support came in or anything, like I saw that for years. Like her trying her best, but always falling short. That shit was heartbreaking. That was the only reason. That was a big reason why I chose to chase the NFL and stuff like that, because I wanted to pull her. I wanted to pull her out her situation, and having a brother in and out of prison, growing up, seeing the narcs bust down your door. You got a mother trying her best to raise two boys. One of them choosing a different route, and you seeing it mentally take a toll on her. You watch all of that growing up, and now you in the same boat. You trying your best, but you falling short. A multitude of that and experiencing that as a child, and then you're going into your adult life and you're experiencing the same thing. You're in the same shoes as you just saw your mom in. It was like depressing for me. And that was the first time I really understood and tried to learn about, generational cycles and how to break them and stuff like that. And that's why I got 888 tatted on me, because that's the breaking of the loops, the generational cycle. Anything that's passed down and may be broken and made fresh and made new. And with that being said, like that's when I started, to seek out, some therapy and talk to some people about it, and really sit down and talk to God about it, man, and really build a spiritually strong mind and a spiritually strong vessel. And from that point on, I will always be not only transparent with the people around me, but transparent with myself and honest with myself and my situation. And I think it started there. I need to be honest with myself and what I needed to work through, and you know, in my situation and stuff like that. And person that was my biggest hump of perseverance. So yeah, man, that was a hard time, man, for me. But no, we made it through. We made it through, and I understand how we made it through and why I got there. So that was the most important part.
Did you feel like, so there's two questions, but I'm gonna ask one. Um, did you feel like a failure? Like, did you feel like seeing it again, right?
Mm.
Man, I failed, or like I didn't, I I couldn't do what I wanted to break or what I wanted to do, and I just wasn't able to do it. Like, did you feel like a failure in that moment?
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. I mean, leaving leaving everything I knew. I was on scholarship at Toledo, and I was on scholarship at Indiana. So leaving everything that I knew to a situation that was considered harder to make things harder on myself. You know, coming back to a city where you know that's deep in poverty, deep in homicide. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't give a damn about you. Coming back to that, and then but you still got love there, you still got family there. So to leave that again and do something to step out on faith that nobody has ever really witnessed around you, and for them to tell you the precautions, give you all the precautions before you leave, and you run into those things that they done warned you about, it's kind of like it feels like you feel defeated, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when I first quit ball, my dad was, like you said, obsession. My dad is obsessed with football. For me to quit football, and he's been training me since I was 5 years old. So he's putting a lot of time and effort, and I recognize that now. You know what I'm saying? Why he was so mad? Like, he stopped talking to me for a while, and because he just didn't understand, why we put so much time into something that I thought you loved, and you quit it, and now you're leaving off with probably $105 in a Jeep Grand Cherokee, a 2008 Jeep Grand Cherokee at that, with a U-Haul attached, and you driving up to New York to chase an acting dream with no guaranteed job. And I'm like, in that moment when they telling me you can't do it, I'm like, shoot, it made me want to go harder. It made me want to prove everybody wrong, even the people who was saying murmurs that, you still got people around the city who talk, and they stay around for city gossip. I'm like, yo, y'all know Nick quit football. I got old mentors calling me, talking at the football game, like, you okay? Man, people saying you on crack for leaving play football to go act. And I'm like, I'm okay, man. I'm doing fine. And I wasn't fine at the time, but it's just those certain things. And when you want to prove something so bad and you don't necessarily get it instantaneous, like instantly, then it makes you feel a certain type of way. But I had to let go of this. I had to let go of this thing of trying to prove people wrong and prove my father, my parents. I had to let go of that. I was blessed and fortunate enough to read the Marvin Gaye, like the whole biography of Marvin Gaye, and how he tried to prove his dad for years that he was one of the greatest singers alive, that he was really making it, and he was successful. And look how that ended up for him. You know what I'm saying? It was tragic. And once I really read that, and I got rid of this feeling of trying to, prove the people closest to me, prove my family, prove everybody around me that I can do it, and just prove it to myself and God, everything changed. Everything changed. I don't have to prove to nobody anything. It could be the smallest thing. Like now, now I'm moving in a different part of my life. Now it's like, yeah, like if I'm telling the truth and you don't believe me, I don't have to prove that. I don't have to prove that I done already made it. In my mind, I already made it because I'm a different man than I was a year ago and 2 years ago. I ain't make it because I booked P Valley. I made it because I'm a different man now. I have a more of an intellect. I have more wisdom. My spirit is high. I'm a God fearing man, and I walk with purpose, and I walk with confidence, and I know who I am. So I already made it. In that sense, everything else will take care of itself. But I'm at my values and my morals stayed intact throughout this process, and I walk with a lot of humility and just a lot of joy and a lot of love and compassion for people and the people that are in my life. So yeah, like once I let go of like the pressure that I was holding on to, like trying to prove something to the world and prove something to like people back home, my parents, that dark cloud, it left, because I was trying to prove to mankind, who isn't perfect, that I'm perfect. Once I let go of that, literally, like it's like a light opened up. I'm like, nah, I just looked up to God, because that's the main person I believe. I looked up to God. I'm like, I want to prove to you that I'm worthy. I want to prove to you that in every room that I step in, and every role that I take, that I'm glorifying your name. Everything changed there.
Don't you think that that's the weirdest thing though? Is that I think that might be one of the to go through, right, with no proof of concept, right, of anything that you wanted to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the weirdest thing that we as a society need proof of concept for you to chase your dreams. It's something that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That happened with you with acting, with me, the podcast.
Right.
Why do we need proof of concept, right? Like, why if I tell you something that I want to do, why can't you just be like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, it don't work
hey,
that way in
go
society.
chase it, you know?
No.
Go get it.
They got to see, everybody got to see something first, you know what I'm saying? And that, man, I feel like the main word for my entire duration of staying in New York has always been faith. People lack faith. It don't matter what is faith, what you have faith in. Like, people lack faith, and that's why they need to see it. Because if you have faith, even if you have faith of a mustard seed, you don't got to see it. And the most importantly is when you tell people your vision, because your vision is between only you and whatever you believe in. I believe in God, so it's between me and God. My vision. When I tell people my vision, right, what they're telling me is, when they're like, oh, they don't have enough faith in what I'm saying my vision is. But that's okay. We're only human, and I understand certain ways humans react to things, you know what I'm saying? And I know how humans can be. We're very flawed, we're very imperfect, and I think a lot of it comes from projection too. So certain dreams that you have for yourself, a lot of people don't know what they want to do. A lot of people don't love anything. They don't have a passion. Like, even if it's simple as you having a passion for watching anime, you know what I'm saying? You would understand if you had a passion for something of that magnitude, you would understand my passion for wanting to be an actor, or wanting to be a painter, or wanting to be uh, like I said earlier, a street sweeper. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I want to be a street sweeper in Milwaukee or some shit like that. I don't know, but I don't. But it's like the moral of it is, it's like a lot of people project their failures onto dreamers because they've dreamed once upon a time. That dream didn't come through. But a lot of people mistaken some dreams for an incorrect calling. Bless you. A lot of people mistaken some dreams for an incorrect calling, because sometimes that dream that you had might have not necessarily been your super objective. My dream was to be a #1 draft pick in the NFL when I was in high school. I realized football was an objective. It was a huge objective to get me to my super objective of being the actor that I am today. But if I would have set my eyes on just football and I would have been like, man, I'm going to go to the NFL, I would have been still in Mobile. I would have been back in Mobile. Because I'm smart. I would have probably got a really good job. You know what I'm saying? I would have probably went to school for something else. Like, I don't know. I like numbers. I probably done engineering or some shit like that. Got a good job. Telling my son or telling people around the barbershop or boys that whoever came with this crazy ass dream of being an actor or a director or a fucking magician or something, I'm like, nah. Actually, or even let me make it even more personal. Say I didn't make it to the NFL, right? And I was set on that. Maybe I have a son one day who wants to go to the NFL now. Nah, that's out of reach. Do you know like only like 1% of college athletes go to the NFL? And even like a decreased percentage, I don't even know the number, that are on an active roster. Son, I don't think that you can I think you should do I don't think you can make it. I think you should do something that is more realistic. And that's what happens. And see, the seed was planted of me having a false dream initially that I didn't reach. And now that that's been shot down, now I'm projecting on to people around me. And that's what happens a lot. It happens a lot. It happens more so than ever. Because people didn't fully get to live out what they wanted to do. See, unconsciously, a lot of us know what we want to do, but a lot of us are afraid to act on it. Yeah, a lot of us are afraid to act on it. And I'm sorry, mama. My mama is one of the best singers that you could ever, listen to. But because of her having 2 boys, because I live in Mobile, Alabama, her being from Mobile, Alabama, and having to, put food on the table and stuff like that, yeah, it sounded crazy to go chase a singing dream and try to put food on the table. But, if she would have chased that crazy dream, what could have happened, And a lot of us are afraid to chase that crazy dream, and we tell other people not to because it is unstable at first, in the beginning stages. Once you build up to it, I believe in this. For every dreamer who is on the right path to doing something, as long as you don't stop at what you're doing and you stay consistent and you stay sharpening that toolbox, in my version, God will never forsake you. But in totality, whatever you're going after will never fail you. Will never fail, because you're attempting until it's like the picture of the person digging through the fucking rocks to get gold. A lot of people stop right before they got that one last pebble. They stop. They don't go past that. And guess what? That dream that they worked so hard for, all of that exhaustion, all of that pain, they store it. And then they project it on others.
Okay. The things you do for a podcast. Just ran to Staples. Batteries died, but you can only meet a person as far as you met themselves. This is something that I often try to tell myself. Sometimes you can't meet people to the depths that they haven't gotten to within their own life, or their own perspective of life, or their own selves, for that matter.
Right.
So with that being said, of them limiting their beliefs on you, that's just like you stated, a projection. But they haven't met that projection with healing. That's still trauma there, right? So they're not bandaging up what hurt them in the past, or that failed dream that they didn't go after, right? So it's hard for you to be upset at somebody because they haven't met themselves at that depth, right? So they can't go below the surface.
Exactly.
So with that being said, in like any interaction that anybody has, you can't expect a person to understand your dreams if they failed to chase their own, or they didn't go after their own.
100%.
So I guess that's just something that, I would really like advise others is, it's merely a projection, and that's all it is words. It's nothing more, nothing less. But something that I did want to know more about, since you said that you went to therapy, how has that helped you, and how has that impacted you on your own self-perception and how you view others?
Everybody has this
taboo, it
seems. They do not believe in therapy. They believe it's like monstrous. But no, I feel like I just sounded British when I said no. What the fuck was that? No, like, but anyways, like when I went to therapy, like it helped me get way more in tune with how I react to certain things, my impulses. Helped me understand like my childhood trauma a little bit more. And yeah, it's like it lets me know that I still have a lot more active work to do. I've only been in maybe 3 real relationships in my entire life, and my first 2, I thought I thought maybe like, oh, I was the perfect one in that, but after looking back at some of the things that transpired and going to therapy and unraveling some things, I realized that I pretty much contributed to the relationship, going the way it did as well through, trauma. There's certain defensive mechanisms that I had to identify. There's certain things that I had to identify within myself that I didn't necessarily fully understand or know until I did go talk to somebody about it. And I think, we should, at some point in time, everybody should go, whether you feel like something is wrong with you or not. I'm a big advocate of it. I do need to go more, just because this past season, like before P Valley, I was going mainly because there was a lot of things in my relationship that was necessarily bringing out sides of me that I hadn't yet discovered, that are maybe that were, buried at a time. So I was like, okay, I need this. And it helped me, to discover some more stuff and how to handle certain situations. And if certain traumas do like transpire or come back up, taught me how to either cope with them or learn how to work through certain traumas that I've grown up with, or learn to stick with as I got older from a
Mm.
child. But more so than anything, like I think it it keeps your mental clear. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like even as an artist or an everyday person, like, or I feel like we have to keep our mental healthy at all times. Like we go work out, we some people pay for body parts. Um, they do all of that stuff so they can look good, but I feel like you need to take care of what's going on the inside just as much as you are taking care of your exterior. Because there's a way, I don't know what it is, but there's something about, when you when you really work on the stuff that's going on the inside, there's a certain glow that comes off, um, and there's a certain way that you carry yourself because you're more understanding of how you carry yourself and the way that you walk through life and the certain triggers that come along with the things in life that you may have not dealt with prior, but now you understand your triggers, understand what works for you and doesn't work for you. So I really feel like therapy taught me a lot. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like therapy taught me a lot in that sense. Yeah. Um, More so than anything, I feel like I learned how to communicate way better. Like, um, I think actively expressing your feelings and to a person that is very unbiased and never grew up with you, like doesn't know you from a can of paint, like they don't know you, but the fact that they're dissecting your life and understanding your certain patterns that you grew up with and their expertise in this field, and they can break down things that you wouldn't necessarily break down for yourself. And now it seems like they're just like sitting there just asking you questions and getting you to open up, but no, they're literally using tactics for you to open up, to lead you to the right place. And so now, like, I feel like I can communicate my emotions more effectively, and I can't wait till I get back in therapy. Actually, I kind of stopped for a while just because I've been running around, man. But yeah, I would love to get back and check in. It's nothing wrong with a check in, man. You get physicals every single time. I need a physical for your mind. Your mind is one of the most important things you have.
So we viewed Nick in the previous verse. We viewed Nick as a younger self. We viewed Nick a couple of years ago. We're viewing Nick now. What is something that you'd want to tell yourself when he first came to New York? Like if you could sit down, right? Like I like to often ask this question to my guests because I think it gives a certain level of reflection.
mm,
If you were looking at me and I was you, what would you want to tell that person, that version of Nick when he
well,
first came to New York?
wow. Uh, I would tell that version. I would tell that version of Nick that you're not perfect. Slow down. You aren't a product of your environment. You aren't broken, and that you need to just focus on yourself and find yourself no matter what. I would also tell that Nick that you need to love yourself with an immense amount of love so that you can pour that love to the people around you. Otherwise, if you don't start loving yourself more, then you will literally not know how to love anybody in any relationship around you. And I would also tell this version of Nick, everything is going to work out. Just give it some time. And I like this saying too, like I'll tell that version of Nick, he's somebody I wouldn't buy a drink for. I'll buy a drink for this version of Nick, but that version is somebody I wouldn't buy a drink for. Like, I think that's the biggest compliment you could ever give yourself. Like, if like, oh, I'll buy a drink for this person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't buy a drink for him. He had to find himself. And go through an indiscernible amount of obstacles and forced a lot of things. Oh, I'll definitely tell him to take his hands off the wheel. Yeah, I'll tell him that.
I like that saying. I'd buy myself a drink. I forgot where did I find that. I don't know.
That's Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that was McConaughey and Chris Williamson's podcast. I just want to say thank you for being on here.
Thank you for having me, man.
It's been a pleasure. It's been 2 hours, some change. I had to go back, get some batteries.
Yeah, no, it's okay, man. This is an experience, man. This is wow, 1%. This is my first podcast, and
yes, sir.
My first podcast of 2025, man. So yeah, man, I can't wait to see how we grow in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, how many years, fuck it, how many years it takes. I can't wait to see the growth, even within these months. So I think it's gonna be a beautiful year, man.
Yeah, definitely would love to have you on again, and whenever that time is.
Yeah, man, let's do it, man. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you,
man. Anybody listening, thank you guys. If you guys made it this far, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. This is the 1% Podcast. I'm out.